You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 76. If you tuned into our last episode, then you heard my conversation with Queenie Verhoeven. Queenie is my right-hand woman, y'all. I cannot imagine running my business without her. In that episode, we had a terrific and wide-ranging conversation about what it means to hire a VA, a virtual assistant, and all the different ways that they can make such a difference in your business and can contribute to your success. So what do you think? Are you convinced? If so, you may have gotten through the end of that episode going, great, Wendy, I'm on board, but good Lord, what do I do now? Well, you're in luck because today I'm going to tell you, what do you do now? We're going to talk about how to hire your first virtual assistant. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. I'm your host, Wendy, and I'm so happy to be hanging out with you here. I have missed this for the last couple of weeks. I had some things I needed to tend to help my folks. My folks are fairly elderly at this point, and they need a lot of extra support. And there were some things I just needed to tend to that I could not do both. I was tempted to try, but in the interest of my own health and well-being, not to mention theirs, I took a little bit of a break, which we have to do, don't we, sometime in our work. And in fact, this is one of my favorite things, one of my many favorite things about being the CEO of your own show, that you have the freedom and the flexibility to adjust as needed to tend to what you need to in your life. So that's what the last couple of weeks have been for me. You know, if you'd like me to, I would be happy to do a little episode for you guys at some point about how you manage the multiple challenges of running a business and managing a family, all the kind of life stuff that we all have to handle, and how you do that and keep your practice going. I would be happy to talk about that at some point. If you guys would like to hear that, just let me know, and I'll be sure and put something like that together for you. But for today, let me reintroduce our guest. I am back with you with part 2 of my conversation with Queenie Verhoeven. You already know her if you heard episode number 75, but Queenie is my executive assistant, virtual assistant, helper in all things. She calls herself a project integrator and a proactive virtual assistant, which is a really great way to distinguish what she does. She is not a passive participant in my work. We are very much collaborative partners in this. I have my business. She has hers. We work together. She is the founder of Your Business Ally. That's a full-service VA company that is devoted to supporting small business owners. And I will be sure to have a link to her website in the show notes below if you want to learn more about her. But today, what I wanted to do, so last week, or in our last episode, we talked in some depth about what a virtual assistant actually is, how different folks can fill different roles in your practice, when this might make sense for you and when not, how to think about it, how to consider what you might use this kind of help for. And we even talked a little bit about the budgeting side of it, how you might pay someone. So if you haven't heard that, I do encourage you to listen to that first. But if you have, today we're going to go a little deeper into okay, now what? We're going to talk a little bit about some tips for hiring, how to prepare for this, what you hire them for, some of the mistakes that people make when they get into this, where to find these people, all that and more. So let's, without further ado, let's get into the interview. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. How you doing? Are you excited to be here? I hope you are because we are following up today with part 2 of my conversation with my outstanding, God bless her, right hand, Queenie Verhoeven, who, if you have not already heard it, go back and listen to the episode previously where we went into detail about how a VA, a virtual assistant, can add to your practice. And today we're going to go a little bit more into the how. How do you find them? How do you hire them? What makes this work? We're going to get more into the nitty gritty today. One point I did not make last time that I forgot to make that I want to come back to right now is that when you think about the benefits of hiring somebody, if there's a part of you that's going, I can't afford that, Wendy, you don't understand. I need every penny, et cetera, et cetera. Let's just do a little quick math right here before I bring Queenie back on board. If you are charging 125 a session, 150 a session, 200 a session, wherever you are, and you can pay somebody $25, $50, $75 to do something in an hour that you would take an hour. Think about the money that you just saved. You can spend that hour serving a client, whereas you pay somebody to get that thing off your plate. That's why this is an economic no-brainer. So I just want to kind of get that out before, because I know that a lot of, especially those of us who are in social work or who are in the healing arts, we always tend to think, what's the cheapest thing I can do? We're always trying to save money, which is sort of lack mindset, y'all. As my coach says today, when you care about your time more than you care about your money, you will have more of both. When you care about your time more than you care about your money, you will have more of both. That's why this matters. So with that, let me bring Queenie back on board. Say hi, Queenie.
Everybody again. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Queenie. Good morning on the other side of the ocean. How are you over there today? What's it
I'm
like? What's it like in the Netherlands today?
It's sunny and it's warm.
Is it warm? Really? Awesome. Yeah.
It's warm.
Yeah, it is here too, but that probably means very different things in the southern U.S. Well, so last time you and I had quite a round robin conversation about all the different factors that a VA can contribute to your practice. Today, I want to answer the question that I know people have, which is like, great, Wendy, fine. Okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. Where do I start? How do I even hire somebody? Where do I find these people? So walk us through that, Queenie. What advice do you have about that?
So like I mentioned earlier before the recording, I think that before you even start looking for a VA, there are certain things you have to consider. And one of those things I think is because there are many platforms where you can hire a VA,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have to know certain things first so that you know which platforms to use or where you can actually get your VA. So I think number one is you have to know whether you are looking for someone that you are willing to train, or are you ready to take someone on who's already experienced in the things or tasks or projects that you'd like them to do for you, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then I think you also have to ask whether you have to know whether you're looking for someone that could potentially join you in the long term,
Mm-hmm.
or you just have someone on a per project or on as needed basis.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have to ask yourself whether you are looking for someone who is skilled on one or two specific areas or two or tasks, or like for example, do you want a social media manager or someone who can help with email marketing, very specific tasks, or are you looking for someone who's like a general
A
virtual
general,
assistant,
right. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's
can
good.
help you with varied tasks on a regular basis?
Mm-hmm.
And do you require fixed working hours, or do you work on deadlines? Because I think that's very important, especially if you have a different time zone with your V.
Yeah.
So like in my case, I work on deadlines. I cannot work on fixed working hours. But I also there were people before who wanted to hire me, but they require fixed working hours. Like I will be
Meaning,
working 7 days.
I want you like on standby between 8 and 5, Monday and
Yes,
Thursday. And you're like, no,
yes,
I don't work that way. You tell me what
yes,
you want done and I'll get to you by a certain date. Got it.
yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to know what your budget is because you have to
Yeah.
pay. I
Yeah.
think you have to know these things first, and then once you have, you have answers for those questions, then we can start looking for places where VAs can be found.
This is excellent. I love you just made a really nice list. And y'all, I want to repeat what Queenie just said because this is fantastic advice. Let's nail this. Let's capture this. And I want you guys who are listening to write it down. The first thing you got to figure out what's your budget? How much can you allocate to this? If you got $50 a month, got $100 a month, can you do $250 a month? How much can you allocate? Do you need somebody who, at a certain time every week, I want someone to answer the phones for me between 10 and 2, 3 days a week? Or is it just, no, I don't care what time. I just need certain things done by a certain time. Which one is that? Flex or fixed? I like that. Specific skills or a general. So this is great because I am in the middle right now as we speak of training and onboarding a new podcast editor. And when I was hiring for this position, I needed someone who understood the podcast editing tool that I use or had something better, but I needed to make sure they understood how to edit audio and video. And that was a very specific skill that I was looking for. Do you want that? Or do you need something that's more general? I just want someone to help. And I love what you said about, do you want someone on the short term, sort of project based, temporarily, or just going to help you out for a while? Or are you looking to add someone for did I already say for the long term? Short term versus long term. I'm going to tell you guys, I hope you think for the long term because consistency is what's going to help your business grow. And then do you want to train them or not? So you started off by going, do you want to hire an expert who already knows how to do this so you don't have to teach them? Or would you rather have someone who maybe they don't know all those skills yet, but they've got the right personality, the right energy, the right attitude? That's really good advice. And this recent hire of mine is a great example of all of those. I thought about it in the beginning. What's the one thing I need to get off my plate? I love podcast editing, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's actually fun. I really genuinely enjoy it. And it takes me hours. So it's not a good use of my time. So that's what I need to get off my plate. It's ongoing. It's not short term. I want someone who already had that skill. Got it. I want someone who's going to stay with me long term. So I was looking for someone who is also wanting to be long term. And now that I've got somebody, I'm learning that she has that skill. She also has an eagerness to learn, a willingness to try something new. She's smart. She's professional. She's organized, but she's relatively young and relatively inexperienced. So she knows how to do the one thing I hired her for, but I think she has real potential to learn more. So I've already got a list of things I intend to teach her, and I will grow her into my little mini Queenie. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to grow a mini Queenie. That's great, Queenie. So do your homework first. Make some decisions first before you're ready to hire. And then once you've got that figured out, I would say write a job description and then start to look. So
you're very good at it, Wendy.
I have some experience with that. Yes, there's a knack to writing a job description. So then what? Once they've got all that figured out, what should they do next?
So for more short-term projects, or if you just want to test the waters, I would say there are platforms like, say, Fiverr.com, Upwork.com, freelancer.com, guru.com. So those are the most common marketplaces to find virtual assistants. And these are also the platforms that are less expensive. Like if your budget is, let's say, $10 an hour, you can most likely find people from those platforms. And then once you're inside those platforms and you look at your list, you did your homework already, then you can screen people inside these platforms. And you can, like, if you say, okay, $10 an hours, and in less experience is fine, then you can actually go in each of these platforms and filter the type of VAs that you are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but if you want to, I would say that if maybe you would like to have a more experienced VA, more long term,
Mm-hmm.
there are also I would say marketplaces or platforms. I don't know what the exact term would be,
Right.
but it's a platform. It's a marketplace. I call it a marketplace because you meet contractors and business owners there. So there are platforms that provide more, provide services that require high level skill sets.
Is marketplace like a specific site that you're talking about, or you just mean the
Yes.
concept of the marketplace? Oh,
No, it's the concept of a
okay,
marketplace.
got it. Got it.
And some specific sites would be um what's this? On my virtual Miss Friday.
We can look that up and put something together for people.
Yeah,
Um,
virtualmissfriday.com. So
yeah.
um if you hire if you get one of her packages, for example, you're actually hiring an online business consultant and manager who's
Okay.
personally responsible for your general operations, and she has a team that works for you.
Kind of
And
like
so,
you, right? Yeah.
yes, in my case though, my team just works directly with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with virtual Miss Friday, she would assign someone that could
Mm-hmm.
work directly with you. Plus, she's also there as your business consultant and manager.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And there's another one that I have not, I have not used it, but I've had a call with one of their representatives because they wanted to, um, you
They're
know,
recruiting you, I bet.
uh, not recruiting me as a VA, but recruiting me as someone who would hire a VA.
Oh, got it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's called the
Oh,
doersway.com.
yeah, I've heard of that. Mm-hmm.
Have you
Mm-hmm.
heard of them?
I have. I sure have.
So I think the best thing about this is that they the first month, okay, so this is how it goes. They only have full-time VAs. So you have to hire a VA for 40 hours a week,
Ah,
and you have to pay them 2 months upfront
okay.
for
So that's
$9 an hour. For $9 an hour. So it's not very
mm,
expensive, but it's
mm.
just have to hire them for 40 hours a week.
Wow.
Yes. And but
Wow.
then
The wow is that it's amazing to me that you could get somebody full time for that low a fee, which tells me they're hiring out of country.
yes,
But
they are in the Philippines.
yeah.
So the business itself is based in Australia, but
Mm-hmm.
their viewers are
Mm-hmm.
in the Philippines.
Got it. Yeah, this is a thing. This is a pattern I'm beginning to see in a lot of places. So
The
the
good
gist
thing
of,
is,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
their doers, when the good thing is that their doers are actually um, regular employees in the Philippines. So they hire these VAs as regular employees, so they get benefits and etc. etc. And but then you're just paying them for the VA that they will
I
provide.
see. I see. So you can hire somebody literally one on one, just directly one to one, or you can hire a company that vets VAs for you essentially and brings them to you. And there's lots of different ways of doing that out
Yeah.
there. I was telling you right before we got online that I had forgotten the company that I went to back in the day before I found you was a company called Assist You. And I could not think of that until just a little while ago, but it's Assist and then the letter U, like university. And I just
Mm.
checked and they're still around. They I don't remember how I found them, but unless they've changed, what they did when I was involved was they were training people how to be a VA, and they were also teaching people like me how to hire a VA. And they had kind of a clearinghouse, sort of a matching service where you could submit, as if you were hiring, you could say, here's what I'm looking for. And then people would, it's the same thing like all of them do now, but back when that was new to me at the time. So that's how I found the IBM computer person who helped me with Secret Adventures. I found her through there. So you can find them through a platform like that. You can find them through the gig places, but hire them. And you can also find them through word of mouth, asking a friend or colleagues, other entrepreneurs, do you know somebody? Because there's a lot of us out here who do this kind of thing, looking for help. Yeah, that's good.
I get nowadays I get most of my clients through word of mouth.
Yeah. Another website that we did not mention is onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph, which stands for the Philippines. And y'all, this isn't meant to be a pitch just for the Philippines. But there is a lot of good help there. So there's also plenty of good help right here at home. And I've had both. So, but onlinejobs.ph is another good resource to go look at. So let's say you have chosen a platform, you've written a job description, you're putting it out there, you're ready to begin bringing in, you can put something on indeed.com, y'all. You can even do that. You can post it there as well. But once you post it and you start getting people going, I'm interested, I do have a little tip for you about how to handle this part of the process. When you write a job description and you post it online in whatever platform you're using, I strongly recommend a couple of things. One is, say something about the type of person you're looking for, not just in terms of their skill set, but in terms of attitude, the way they think, the way that, like, I like to say that they have to have a sense of humor and they need to be able to tolerate a certain amount of chaos, because that's what it's going to be like working with me, right? You might have something else. Say something about what you're looking for in terms of their personality. Also say something about what it's like to work with you. One of my favorite things to do is to say, here's what you're going to love about working with me, and here's what's going to drive you kind of crazy. Because I want to make sure I'm weeding out people I'm trying to weed them out of the front end. So I will say things like, you're going to learn a lot working with me, because I can't help but teach and coach everybody. And I'm going to do my best to try to make sure you are successful. I'm going to be a huge supporter and a huge fan. And I have a million ideas and they come fast. So you've got to be able to keep up, right? So I put all that in there. So what do you want from them? What should they expect from you? If there are specific skills, by all means, put that in there. But then my favorite thing to do is to put some kind of a little miniature. It's like I don't know of a better way to say it. It's almost like a secret little test. I put some kind of a direction in there that I want them to follow when they respond. So I've seen people say things like, you know what, when you write back, tell me your favorite quote about success. Share with me the best book you've ever read that was from personal development. Tell me what you are looking for most in any team you work with. It might be something like that. What I do is I will say, write back and put something X in the subject line. So for example, when I just went through this recently, I had 30 something people respond to my job application online. And in my instructions, which were fairly detailed, more detailed than I think most people would be, but I really wanted to weed people out. If you just put a little bit out there, you're going to get 100 applications. If you're more specific, you're going to get fewer, which is actually better, because you don't want to weed through a bunch of crap. Okay. To put it bluntly, you want to get the good ones up front. But I said, if you're interested, send an email to this address and put the word interested in all caps in the subject line. And I put that down fairly low in the description, because if they didn't do that, that tells me that they didn't read it all the way through. It tells me that they're not paying attention to details and they're not following instructions. Well, if they don't, then I don't even bother responding. I just delete that one and move on. Okay. Because you will get those people. So put something in there that you want them to do specifically that will tell you on the front end. And I've heard a lot of people saying this, share your favorite quote kind of stuff. I like do something in the subject line because then I don't even have to open the email, right? So that's a really good tip as well. And then the last thing I want to say, so I'm kind of giving you 4 tips here. The last one I want to say about that is when you do weed it, narrow it down, and let's say you've got 2 people, 3 people that are really good prospects, give them all a test project. And although when I hired Queenie, I just was asking her to solve one specific problem for me. Today, this time around, because I've learned more, I asked 2 different people to do the same project. And it was worth it to me to spend the money on that because I wanted to see how they would handle it. And it was a fairly complicated project. Try this, see what you can do with it. I gave them lots of instructions. I gave them the tools they needed. And then I just turned them loose. And I used that to compare, right? So that's 4 quick tips for the actual hiring process. And then once you make your decision and you bring them on board, even then I would recommend a 90-day trial period that gives you both a chance to kind of test each other out. And remember, they're testing you as much as you're testing them. You're getting to know each other. You're making sure that they can do what you hired them to do and that you like working with them. They also are testing you to make sure they want to work with you. Which leads me, Queenie, to where I want to go next. What are some of the more common mistakes people make when working with a VA? What have you seen? Because you've been on the receiving end of it, and you've also now been on the hiring end of it. What would you say are some of the mistakes people make when they start hiring?
Okay, so I think
such a good question, if I do say so myself.
One is, I think, having no plan on how to make use of your VA. Like I think I mentioned this in part 1. You don't need to know everything immediately because sometimes you discover more things that you will be needing help with while you're already working with the VA, right? But I think this is just based on my experience, both as a VA and somebody who's hired a VA. It's helpful for both of you and to, if you have at least a plan, or let's just say you can make a 30-day plan for tasks that you need to get off your plate immediately, and maybe another 60-day or 90-day plan for things that you'd like to get off your plate eventually.
Yeah. So have sort of a step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah.
I really want someone to help me with this right now. If that goes well, the next thing I'd like them to help me with is this. And if that goes well, where I really want to get to is this. That's great. I have done exactly that. That's very good advice. I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
one mistake people have is not having a plan. No idea. I just need help. I don't know what I need help with. That's one thing. What's another mistake people make?
Another is having no clear expectations from your VA. So that's why a very clear job description is really helpful. So, for example, if you're hiring someone to help you with email marketing, let's just say, then you have to be specific on what you need that person for in terms of email marketing. Do you need them to craft the copy of your newsletter, or will you be the one to craft the copy and then your VA's job is to set it up? Set it up somewhere like on MailChimp or Kajabi, and then send it out to your list. Because sometimes clients think that because a VA can set up a newsletter, they can also write one, which is not true.
Just because you can set it up doesn't mean you can write it. That's right. Yes. Okay.
So like I cannot write. I can never write one. So for between us, Wendy, you always write the copyright, and then I just set it up and make sure it's nice and beautiful, and
but you can edit. You can catch typos. You can ask me if something doesn't make sense. You will tell me that kind of stuff, right? So you won't write it, but you do proof it for me, right? So one of the mistakes people make is not communicating clearly. This is what I expect from you. And I'm going to beef that up a little bit. Like, I'm going to want this from you every week. I'm going to expect this on a certain amount of time. I'm going to need you to, um, I'm going to expect you to be able to set it up, design a meme with a quote in it. I'm going to need you to be able to post it on Facebook. I'm going to need you to be able to send this email out to my list. I'm going to need you to understand how to work with MailChimp. Right. So clear expectations
Your expectation.
versus just, will you just help me with my email marketing? I don't care how you do it. Just fix it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That would be a mistake. That's really good. So fuzzy expectation, no plan at all. And then really fuzzy expectations. So I don't really know if I'm your VA, I don't really know what you want from me. That would be hard.
So
That's
you have to
good.
be clear with your deadlines, with everything, really.
Good. What are some other, are there other mistakes that are popping into your head? Because
I
I
think
can always think of things.
lack of communication, like in
Yeah.
everything, because there are some clients who would, okay, they will hire you, and then after a month, you don't hear from them. And then,
Yes.
yes, and then suddenly the following month, you get all these projects, all these tasks, all these to-dos. And that is, I don't know, it's frustrating for the VA, but
Mm-hmm.
it keeps the VA, it leaves your VA hanging. Like suddenly you're here and suddenly you're not, and
Right.
they know why. So sometimes you may not have enough work for the VA, but you should at least let them know. Or if you have a lot of work coming up, you should also give them a heads up.
So I just wrote down pacing.
Mhm.
So too much work, not enough work, spreading it out too far. And the communication piece I think is huge, right? So if you don't if you don't let your staff, your team know what's going on, they can't prepare. So yeah, regular communication, clear communication. And y'all, that's a whole topic all in itself. So being able, if something doesn't work right, if there's a problem, you've got to be willing to talk to your VA about it. And,
Mm,
I would
yeah.
say be careful about this. Don't leap to all kinds of terrible conclusions.
Mm,
If your VA is not performing the way you want, your
mm,
first place to look is with yourself. Do
yes.
do you have the plan? Are you communicating that plan clearly? Are your expectations laid out in writing in a way that makes sense to them? Do they understand what you're asking them to do? And is the pacing crazy? My
Yeah.
pacing actually is kind of crazy. We
And then
have,
you always give me a heads up. So
I do. I will
yeah,
drop you a note and I'll say, heads up. I need to let you know this is coming. I've
yeah.
got this idea. I'm going to start it next week. Like, buckle your seatbelt. Here it comes. Yes, I do that. Yeah.
But that's fine. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
then I can plan ahead. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have to remember that most VAs, they also work for other clients. So
Yes.
even if they would love to help you out with these things, but because it's last minute notice, they might not be able to deliver.
That is the perfect last mistake. I want to pull this with this because so this is a huge misunderstanding I think that people have about working with a virtual assistant. When I hire an assistant, they are helping me, but I am their client, right?
Mm,
So you help me, Queenie, but I am your client, right? And although I joke about being your favorite, I am not only probably not your favorite, I'm also not your only. So this is something that really hit me when I first started working with VAs that I really wanted to emphasize. So this is a perfect spot to bring this to. You are hiring a business owner. You are contracting with another business owner. You are two equals who are coming together and deciding on a relationship that is mutually beneficial to you both. You are not the boss of somebody who is underneath you. You are co-creators and co-collaborators in a project. And for you, Queenie, to say, just remember, you're not my only client. What I wrote down was respect.
mhm.
That we have to remember that we are one of many people that these folks are working with. We may not be if they're just getting started. We may be their only, but they will have others along the way, unless you hire them full time. And if you do,
Yes,
that's
yeah,
great. Yeah, hire them
yeah.
full time. But I would say that a mistake that I've seen that all of these go into is a lack of communication, a lack of understanding, and a lack of respect. So these people, so one of the dangers you all have to watch out for, those of you who are listening, is that if you're a creative person, you're a visionary, you've got a lot of ideas, you've got a big heart, you just want to help your people. Don't bother me with all that silly business stuff. I don't care about that. I don't care about money. I don't care about details. I don't care about systems. I don't care about marketing. I just want to help my people. Well, y'all, you're a business owner and you have to think like a CEO. That means, yeah, your service is important. It is one of many things that are important. And you can delegate. You cannot abdicate responsibility. Right. So that is, I think, a biggie. So yes, I really want you to hire a team. I want you to start building this up for yourself. But don't look at them as magicians who are going to come along and solve all your problems. They're not. They will help you solve your problems. But you must treat them with respect. You must treat them as equals. You must treat them as co-creators and collaborators. And exactly what Queenie said, have a clear plan, have clear expectations, communicate clearly and often, watch your pacing, and remember that you're not the only client. This new person that I am onboarding right now, we are meeting every week for an hour online for the first probably 4 to 6 weeks that she's working with me, because I want to catch problems before they happen. I want her to get to know me and how I think, and I want to get to know her better. So even if I don't even have an agenda, we have a standing meeting that is just temporary. Now, you, me, Queenie, we do like a 2 or 3 hour meeting once a quarter. That's what we've done. We communicate online most of the time, but we didn't in the beginning, we didn't do face to face, but today we do meet online on a regular basis. Yeah.
In the beginning, we did once a week, I think, Wendy.
Oh, did we? I didn't remember. Because I remember being surprised when I finally got to meet you. Like, oh, look, you're live. I remember that. Maybe that was sooner on than I remember. It's been so long. Yeah. It does help to talk in person. You will connect with people in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really different. Like,
yeah.
You can communicate through emails and through project management tools, but it's still different when you have in-person meetings, or let's just say online meetings, but you see the person face to face.
Absolutely. Until I can convince you to move here, that's pretty much how we have to do it. Yeah. So y'all, what the last thing I'll say about that. So in terms of communication, so a project management tool can be a way that you communicate with your VA. And it may be that they have a tool they're used to that they just sort of bring you in, or you may have one that you prefer that you bring them on. That's either one of those is kind of okay. It depends on the person. Queenie and I historically have been using Trello for everything. We are actually, as we speak, transitioning. We are beginning to move away from Trello to something called ClickUp, which is kind of like Monday.com or like Asana, if you've heard about any of those. They all do similar things. They all are good in various ways. Different things work different for different people. But having some kind of a platform that is where you park the work, where you communicate back and forth. Here's project A, project B, project C. Here are the tasks that are involved. Who's responsible? What's the deadline? Where are we at in this? Where you can communicate back and forth. That's been a godsend for us. So you and I, Queenie, we've been using Trello. We're switching, and we also will use Voxer every now and then when there's something urgent that I just need to get a message to you right away. Yeah, or WhatsApp. We've done both of those. Yeah, yeah. Well, today I wanted to keep this one a little bit shorter today because I felt like we went long in the last one, but I feel like we've given y'all a bunch of platforms, and all of this, y'all, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to put this in the show notes, or I'm going to put together a little worksheet, a little download for you. I haven't decided which, because this is evolving as we talk about it, but I will have this information for you one way or another down below. We've talked about different places you can go find a VA. We've talked about how to prepare to hire before you ever start the hiring process. I gave you a few tips for the actual hiring process itself, how to think that through. And then we talked a little bit about how to communicate with them and work with them afterwards. That's really good. We covered it all really quickly today. What do you think? Not bad.
Good.
I'm looking, I think that's really what I wanted to hit today. I wanted let's get into this.
If they have more questions, they can just write to you and you'll get back to them.
They sure can. You can absolutely send me an email that you can look up Queenie. Your email, we shared your website the other day. It's yourbusinessally.com is how you can reach out to Queenie directly. You can also reach out to me. Y'all know all the different ways to do that. What I would challenge you guys to do, for those of you who are sitting on the fence about this, I would challenge you is to start by doing the process I laid out in the last episode of the first part of the series, which was start tracking your activities. If you do that for 1 week, I think you will be astonished at how much you're doing that is not bringing in money. Your time should be spent on the top 5% of activities that are revenue producing. Everything else you need to get somebody else to do. So, all right, good. So Queenie, is there anything else along this line that I had forgotten to ask you? Anything else that you want to share just in general that would make this whole conversation complete?
I think there's one tip I'd like to share
Sure.
If they are thinking of hiring an experienced VA. Micromanaging will not work for somebody who's already
Yes.
very experienced. So you just have to, because if you micromanage, you're essentially this is really you not being willing to delegate tasks.
Yes.
Help. So sure, you need to check and assess, if the VA is doing a good job, but let them do and deliver the job first. Because
Yes.
when you hire an experienced VA, I would say you're hiring a senior member of your team. So after you've built a relationship with that VA, allow them the room to excel.
Yeah.
So use your VA's initiative and expertise to help you grow your business, because they know essentially they know what they are doing, and they do not
Yes.
like to be micromanaged very much.
That is such a great tip. And what a perfect place to bring this to a close, because what can happen is you can be one extreme or the other. You don't communicate enough. You just kind of say, here, solve it, fix it, good luck. And you never talk to them again. Or you're on top of them every day, which is going to drive people crazy, right? And if you're hiring an expert, and that's your anxiety talking, if you're doing that, yes, your anxiety. So one or the other, either you're sort of ignoring your responsibility here if you don't talk to them at all, or you don't communicate clearly, or you are, you're not trusting that you've hired, like trust yourself to hire well. And once you've gotten through the onboarding process, it takes a while in the beginning, you're getting to know each other, but once you know them, you've got a system in place, everybody's clear on what their job is, let them do their job and treat them with the respect that an experienced position deserves. So that's great. That's really good advice, Queenie. That's good.
Other thing about respect, you mentioned that earlier, Wendy.
Yeah, that's really good. Awesome. Well, great. Well, I wanted to keep this one short today, but I'm hoping that between these 2 episodes, guys, you have learned a lot about what it takes to add someone to your team. This really it can be a game changer for you in so many ways. So I encourage you to don't be afraid. Just follow the steps we've laid out for you, and you can do it. And you'll be happy that you did. And you might find your own Queenie. And I hope you do. All right, everybody. With that, I will thank you, Queenie, so much for hanging out with me to do this work. This is so delightful. You're doing my people a service, and I'm very grateful, as always.
Thank you for having me. I'm a little bit nervous because it's my first time in a podcast.
She is always nervous, y'all. She's so much happier behind the scenes. She's like, don't make me talk to people. I don't want to talk to people, but she's really good. And I could not do half of what I do without Queenie. I would just quit. If I lost Queenie, I would just give up. That would be the end of it. I'd be like, it's been nice knowing everybody. So that's what a good person will do to your business. You're not alone anymore. Any idea you've got, there's somebody there to help you. When you drop a ball, somebody else is there to pick it up. When you've got it's just the best feeling in the world to have a good staff member. Now you can have one that's not so great, and that's a whole nother conversation on how to handle that. But when you get the right people in place, it is a game changer. Yeah. Which Queenie has done. I've watched her do this. I've watched you grow through this own process. Yes, so cool. All right, y'all. With that, I'm going to say goodbye. I want you to have a great week. Go start tracking your time, see what you do, and tell me what you learned from this process. I would love to hear from you. Have a great week, everybody, and I will see you next time right here, same bat station, same bat time on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now.